Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I'm joined by...
James the Wildcard and my delicious burger.
Oh my, you've got a burger?
Yes.
Is it gonna give us his opinion on whatever we talk about?
It's a little cheesy, so I'm not gonna let it talk. Ayo!
Oh, that was terrible. So how you been?
Been pretty good. How you been?
Pretty good. A lot of stuff coming out. I'm pretty sure you're happy about the latest Tau supplement codex.
I am, but I want to talk about that because you know what really grinds my gears? Well, no, not really, but I just...
When you can't find the droids you're looking for?
Yes, it's terrible. I wish I could. I can never find them. No, the Farsight Enclave, in case anybody didn't know, is the Tau supplement that came out. Firstly, I want to say kind of bravo. Out of all the codices that could have got a supplement that are updated to the current codex, I would have not thought Tau to be the next one at all. And with Tau, I would not have thought Farsight Enclave. You know, I like Farsight. He's my favorite character. I like battlesuits in Tau. He's my favorite Tau character, let me put it that way. But I would not have expected it. And I was talking with the Stark Lord about this the other day, and it feels like an oops Band-Aid type of thing. Like Joey was helping develop the codex. He was sick for like a week, so they just went on without him. Then he came back and was like, we should make battlesuits troop choices. And they went, bollocks! And after it was out, and
yes, bollocks, because they're British.
Exactly. And they're like, oh crap, let's all right. Farsight Enclave will make up for it by having some other cool stuff, which is pretty cool stuff. But it's like probably should it feels more like something that could have been in the codex. Now the Eandon, or however you want to pronounce it,
Eandon,
that one.
How I do it?
Yeah, who knows, right? But that one I can knowing the background behind Eandon or Eandon, whatever you want to call it, knowing the background behind it, I can see a supplement for it to try, because it's more than just switching around force or organization chart a little bit when you think about it.
There's a lot of pretty cool psychic powers and gear in that codex.
Right.
Like there's one where for every hit that the weapon has dealt previously in the game, it's either that adds to its attacks or it adds to the strength plus that it does up to 10 or something. But I think it adds an attack for every hit it successfully did each turn.
Which is cool. And, that's more than just a force organization chart swap.
Yeah. With
Farsight Enclave, they could have easily just had Farsight unlock XV8's troops in the codex, and everybody would have been happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
So now what they did is they went, oh no, I'm not saying this is what they did, this is what it feels like. They went, oh no, well let's expand upon this and kind of make it a mini-dex, which I think from the stuff I've seen and the way it works is pretty cool. It makes it feel more like Farsight was in the previous Tau Codex, but it just seems more of like a, crap, put a Band-Aid on that, let's fix that.
So according to Bell of Lost Souls, this codex allows you all crisis suits are troops, but you must take at least one unit of 3 battle suits, not including drones.
It's true.
All units have preferred enemy orcs in close combat only.
Not that it's really going to matter, because it's Tau.
But apparently it's a nice fluff addition.
Oh yeah, it's part of the fluff thing, and it was part of Farsight's previous thing. But every time I looked at it, I go, great. So the Fire Warriors can re-roll that terrible failure and still fail. Great, because they're Fire Warriors. But a full battlesuit army, it makes it a little bit better, especially against orcs.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that they force you to take bonding knives is another thing.
Yep. You must buy a bonding knife upgrade for every unit in the army.
So they're basically blood brother type thing. And what's cool is, it's kind of cool and kind of lame, because in the previous edition you got those for free. So I guess they're making up for that, saying we can't really give it to you for free. Just getting all these battle suits if you want it. So you have to.
Yeah.
The thing I really like about it is the 8.
Is the what?
It's part of the rules thing for the army is what's known as the 8. Mm-hmm. And Farsight in the Codex, he can take a battlesuit bodyguard of up to 7 battlesuits instead of 2, because he loves the battlesuits. In place of that, with the supplement, he can take what's called the 8, which are 8 special characters basically, but they're not what makes them special characters is they have unique, not that they have unique war gear like he does, like a Dawnblade, but they're named suit types. And what's cool is one of them's a Riptide and one of them's a Broadside. And he takes those as like a command squad. They replace his bodyguard and they become like the 8, and he just has this like cohort of like the 8 top awesome dudes, and it feels so Tau anime Gundam-esque that I love it. It's like, these are the 8. They're all named. They all have their own quirks and fluff about them, and it's so cool. One of them is basically a Tau Dreadnought.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was horribly mangled in self-sacrifice, but survived it, so he's basically permanently interred in his battlesuit. And it's like, awesome. He's basically...
That's pretty cool.
I think he's almost as old as Farsight, and they explain how Farsight lived this long. And I like it because basically everybody thought, oh, it's Chaos. He fought against Chaos at the Arthas Moloch or whatever it was. And other people are like, no, it's Necron, it's Necron. Look at the weapon, it's Egyptian-esque, it's Necron. It's kind of like, it's clearly not Chaos, and it's not really hinted at being Necron, but it's super technological. He uses what's called chronographic alloys, and every time he kills somebody, the natural lifespan of that person that he ended, so let's say the person had 40 more years to live, he gets those 40 years to his lifespan.
Interesting.
But he doesn't know that. He suspects the Dawnblade's extending his life, but he doesn't know how, like, horrific it is of basically stealing their life essence.
Yeah.
But, I like that because I'm just glad that it's not Chaos Bound, because if it was Chaos Bound, it would have been so lame. Because the Tower don't really have a warp presence, so...
Yeah.
But...
And also in this, you can't take Shadow Sun or Unva.
Which makes sense, because, hey, I'm a breakaway faction.
With allies, if you do allies just right, you can field 5 Riptides, which is a little overkill.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
And then there's a couple of pieces of war gear. The one that I'm interested in the most is the Fusion Blades.
It's really cool. It basically turns like a... I read the ruling from 2 different sources, and it's like it turns a melta weapon into like a fusion cutter close combat weapon.
Here it seems it's a commander-only thing. It has it's a gun that's range 18, strength 8, AP 1, assault 1, melta twin linked, but in close combat it's a strength 8, AP 1, melee armor bane blind.
Yeah, it's basically they took their like fusion blaster and somehow retrofitted it to be a close combat weapon.
Yep.
Which is really cool. I also really like the Earthcast pilot array thing. I just think it's pretty cool. It basically for Riptides. And the Riptide special character has one. And it does some, like, reroll some stuff. I'm not going to go too specific into it. But it forces them to be weapon skill 1. So it's a trade-off. You want to be super shooty and better with the Riptide's, like, reactor thing and not be able to tie things up in close combat very well. It's a trade-off, and I like that because the Riptide is an excellent throw it in their face, what are they going to do about it in close combat type thing for regular troops. Like, a Riptide... if there's a Space Marine squad that doesn't have the power piece in there because some of them have power weapons and whatnot, you could throw a Riptide against a tactical squad and it would just basically go num. Yeah. Because it's big, it's dangerous, and it's going to hurt. But with weapon skill 1, it really takes that away. It makes it more of a, I'm going to blow it to pieces type of Riptide.
We also, apparently there is a rumor roundup for the Black Templars.
Yeah, but... I feel like it was remember that Tau rumor roundup of like 2 years ago or 3 years ago? That wasn't really accurate at all.
So, I don't know, this one comes from a particular source, Fayette212, and he's usually pretty close to what's going on.
He is, but wasn't that also the source of the original Tau rumor?
I don't think so.
It doesn't matter. I mean, either way, it's cool, and it sounds good, but from the other latest rumors that are circulating, the Black Templar are not slated to be next, or...
Oh, no, they're not even suggesting that. They're saying now it's Space Marines, I believe, then Orcs, then Imperial Guard, and then Tyranids, I think?
Something like that.
The order?
I mean, Space Marines was to be expected.
Yeah.
And I really would like to see Orcs, because it would be cool to see what they're going to do with Orcs.
Absolutely nothing.
And I wonder... Are they going to make Speed Freaks a supplement for the Orcs?
Or any of the factions.
Yeah, but the big one that they always had is the Speed Freaks.
Mm.
And in the codex prior to this current Orc codex you guys have, there's a whole speed freak type of army list you could build in that codex. And now this one is, I don't want to say more watered down, but you take Wazdaka and then bikers become troops, basically, and you can do all that stuff. But it wasn't quite speed free. It was just like fast orky. There's a bit of so maybe they'll do that and then include speed freaks as a supplement.
Now, I have something very humorous that I find in another supplement book that's coming out. There was in the Apocalypse Collector's Edition, the Pandurex Warzone.
Uh-huh.
Well, apparently it's coming out to purchase for anyone who wants it. And in it, it has two things for the Imperial. The Marauder Bomber, because it wasn't in the Kodak, the Apocalypse book. But then it has a formation, Warhound Hunting Pack, 2 Warhounds. And what I find funny about that is the fact that the Warhound doesn't have stats in 6th edition. But then again, like I said in the last book, it seems, looking at the Eldar vehicles, you just slap Agile and the Super Heavy Walker rules to it and give it 9 structure points, because I believe it had 9 hull points, because I believe it had 3 structure points, then it's 6th edition. But I'm like, really? They weren't going to just throw the walkers in? They want you to... First you tell us how these books are replacing everything, now you want us to keep our old books, to keep playing?
Yeah, well, I think with the supplements, first off, we all know that there are big books like the Codices and the special type of gameplay books like Apocalypse and whatnot, even back with Cities of Death when that first came out. There's some gratuitous errors in those books. They've always had that issue. We kind of joked about it, going, "Man, I want to be on that team," But apparently, with these supplements, it's even worse. In fact, when you look at the wording for not being able to take Shadow Sun or Envoy, it says you can't not take them. So it's like you have to take them by the wording. So it's like,
I'm sorry, I was confused by a double negative.
Basically, but obviously that's silly. But it's just the way it is. It's like that's something that I can't complain that they didn't catch it, because I've written stuff like that before and never caught it. But I'm not in a position where I get paid and have a job for it.
To write books.
Yeah. But it's just funny, because it's like, at least, maybe they can patch that easier with like an update or whatever to down.
Yeah.
They probably won't. They'll probably just errata it. But the idea of that is just funny to me. And the other thing is, these supplements are interesting. And I was talking about this with Starklord. I'm like, seeing it like this, what's next? Or like, is it going to be Lamenter's supplement for the Blood Angels Codex? Would be kind of cool. Or Flesh Terror supplement? Or are you going to do Successor Chapter supplements for certain things? Which would be interesting. But at the same time, it basically is what I call the D&D effect.
Yeah.
Because it's just too many books to keep track of. First you got your main rule book. Even
then you got your codex.
Even as a digital thing, you got the main rule book, you got the codex. Then you need a supplement for it. And then, of course, we're going to play something special, like Planet Strike if they update that, or Cities of Death, or Apocalypse. And that stuff I'm not really complaining about. But it's more like, I need the main rule book, the codex, and a supplement. And I thought what they were getting away from 5th, in 5th and into 6th was doing exactly this. But it feels like the D&D effect, where it's like, I need 16 books to play a warrior. What happened?
One thing, like some of the supplement books I don't have a problem with, but some of them just seem a little ridiculous. Like in some of them, like in this Paradox Warzone thing, they say, here's a Warhound Titan formation. I was like, but you never gave us the stats for a Warhound, so how can we play this?
Yeah.
And then they're like, you still have Reloaded, right? And I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me the book that you already decreed is out of date is still in date?
Yeah, it is a bit weird.
Like, that was the one thing, because I just noticed, I was like, because I noticed in the book, the Imperium got the super heavy tanks and the Thunderhawk. That was about it.
Okay.
The Orcs got the Stompa and the Great Squigoth. The Eldar got all of their walkers, but none of their grav tanks and none of their flyers.
Right.
Necrons got the obelisk thing. Tyranids got basically all their stuff that they've had for forever. And Dark Eldar didn't get anything as far as I remember. They just got a bunch of formations.
That's typical Dark Eldar. They never.
And I was sitting there, I was just like, they really cut out a lot of this book, which makes me thinking, like, they really, it's either A, they're trying to support Imperial Armor more, so they're like, oh, the Imperial Armor books are up to date, you can use those, or, as you said once before, we're going to see a Reloaded come out, and it's going to have all the vehicles that are missing.
That's what I would suspect. It's a little bit odd that the main Apocalypse rulebook didn't have the Warhound because it did in the previous one.
Yeah, and I checked that book like 6 times to try and find this thing. I started from the first army listing and scrolled through, never found it, so I'm not going crazy.
Yeah, it's weird doing that, but maybe they will be Reloaded. It's just, these supplements, they're interesting, but they're basically... It's up and a down because you have basically a mini codex, and the nice thing about them is they don't really require as much planning or developing as a codex because you're basing it off pre-established rules. So you don't have to establish army-wide special rules except for anything special, like, for Farsight, you must take bonding knives type of stuff. You don't have to establish what a Tau Fire Warrior is. It's already established. People know what Tau are basically. It's changing it a little bit. So I think the one positive to these supplements is we could see them being banged out quicker than a codex, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it could be a completely separate team of 2 people or 1 person to do the supplements. And you change people so it doesn't get too stagnant, and that way, you can kind of keep people interested or intrigued via the supplements. But the other problem is it becomes, I need this book, this book, this book, this book, and this book.
The other big issue with it is how much they're charging for these supplements.
Yeah, that's the problem. Now, the iPad one, sure, great. It's got all this...
It's got all those fancy things, and it has access to a lot of the rule sets. Like, if you tap on it, you'll get the stats for a bolter, even though the bolter's not in that book, and stuff like that. And you get the auto AFQ thing, but still... FAQ. What did I say?
AFQ. You get one of those.
Yeah, because it's the same price as a Codex. Like, the Iaden one is $49.50, and it is only 72 pages. So I'm paying the same price I would for a 104-page book.
Yeah. Now, the Farsight Enclave one, if you don't get the iPad one, it's basically $33.
Yeah, they are cheaper if you get the Kindle versions.
But at the same time...
Which I didn't know that when I bought the Apocalypse book.
Yeah, but also when you look at it at the same time, it's not... I don't want to say it's not cheaper by much, but it's still... It's not a standalone book. It's not a standalone book. Why are you doing that? I mean, you look at the hardcover price for the supplement of the Iaden, it's $50.
Yeah.
It costs as much as the Codex. And it's not a standalone. I could see a standalone thing being worth that much, but really, make it a soft cover. Make it a soft cover. $30.
Even still, like, there are a couple of books in D&D that are hardcover that are $20.
Yeah.
GW did.
I think that's because D&D had 74,000 books. They were like, all right, we'll cut it down a little bit.
But that's like the issue. It goes back to that whole price gouging thing. GW just really wants your money, and they want to get it. And so what they do, this is probably not true, but it causes the idea to get in people's heads that, like, let's just use, for example, Farsight Enclave, how you said, it feels like a Band-Aid Codex. Well, because of how this book feels and the price of it, it feels like they deliberately took out the ability to make battle suits a troop choice so they could get $100 out of you instead of $50 out of you.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and it does give that thought, and like you, I don't believe that to be true.
Yeah.
But another issue is...
You can't help that this is what you're causing your fans to think.
Yeah, and as far as pricing, now I've seen supplements and other gaming paraphernalia go for same price, if not a bit more, for way less. And it all depends, like, it's expensive, yes, but when it comes to gamers and supplement books, this isn't the only company that is basically charging a premium for something like this. It's been done in the past, and it'll be done in the future. If the nice thing about it is the fact that the digital stuff, when you're going non-iPad, when you're going for the straight digital copy of the book, is cheaper. Now, I think, honestly, the price of the digital should be the price of the book, and the digital should be like $20, like nothing too crazy of a cut, because this is like a $20 almost cut. If you do like a $15 or even a $10 cut between the digital and the book, I think they're afraid that if they make the digital too cheap, nobody will buy the book, and they'll waste money making the book. And the truth of the matter is, people still like to buy books. It's something about the physical thing of a book. But if you make it affordable, they'll buy the book. That's how it works.
Yeah. Well, the thing is especially in this age, like, this is like one of my thought patterns. Like, I bought the digital version of Apocalypse, and because if the rumor of the Uthway Codex is true, I'm going to pick that up because of my original Craft World was supposed to be an offshoot of Uthway until I said that doesn't make any sense. But I said, they'll just keep, like, Uthway, like, feeling to them. They're big and psychic-y and all that junk, but have more aspect warriors because they're not dumb.
Right.
But I like the idea of what it works is the fact that I like the idea of having the digital books, because what I could do is I go, okay, I have my hardcover rulebook, my hardcover codex, and then my digital supplement, so I'm not taking 20 books with me, type of thing. And I think that's what they're banking off of, which is why they want the digital books to be just as expensive. That way they're like, it looks like we're punishing those who don't want to have the hardcover book and make their lives convenient.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they're going off of, and I didn't even know what I was talking about halfway through that sentence.
I get what you were saying with it, in a weird way. Like, instead of covering the table in books, I have a couple of books and this easy to handle supplement that can hold multiple books because it's digital. Yeah. But the thing I don't like about it is again the perception. Perception is reality. That's the way it works. Yeah. If I perceive something to be true, it could be completely false, but to me that's reality, and then I won't like it. But the fact that they almost seem like they're punishing those who don't go digital by holding it back for, like, months.
Yeah,
it's just like... They do. That's the only thing I don't like, because I don't have a way of reading these books digitally. And...
Except your phone, and that's not that good.
Yeah, the phone is not something that can do it. It could, but it's too old. It just wouldn't work well for me. And in my opinion, you want some type of tablet to read these things.
Yeah, you want a large print device.
Yeah. And so I don't really have a way of doing it. And I'm all about books anyway. So I'd love to have an actual physical copy. I was like, okay, so this just came out. I'm excited. This is something that I would play. But I can't read it yet until you decide to throw me a bone here and make the physical. What
other thing that I feel sometimes, this is just a small pet peeve, what I hate is, like, this whole Pandaric's Warzone thing. If you were gonna, like, the fact that it was originally exclusively for the collector's edition, now it's being released as its own thing, then it's no longer an exclusive release to the collector's edition. You just made the collector's edition kinda pointless, because I can just buy what's not in it.
Yeah.
That's always been, like, a pet peeve with me, especially, like, with video games, with anything that has exclusive content, because then it's like, like a good example is when I bought Space Marine, I pre-ordered it. So I got the special Black Templar and I believe it was Emperor's Children skin on my dudes. And I was like, oh yeah, I got this. It's kind of like, it was sort of like your symbol, your badge of honor. You support the game so much that you got the collector's edition. And then literally a week later I found on Steam you can just buy it. And I was like, then what was the point in making it an exclusive?
Yeah.
Exclusive means you can only get it this way.
Yeah, but that is the thing that's annoying, but that's just...
It makes me feel like I just wasted money because I was tricked into the whole collector's edition, which is now I don't buy collector's editions anymore because of that.
I buy collector's editions for certain things. It's got to be a well-bundled collector's edition.
It's usually the physical stuff that you get is worth it.
Yeah.
Because then that's the only time you can prove that you got the collector's edition.
Like the Space Marine thing, I got that collector's edition. I thought it was packaged well. I thought it had a good content in there. And when it comes to Blizzard products, their special editions are always worth it. So, like, I got to get the StarCraft stuff. I always get the special editions because it's really worth it what they do. But the way with gaming, digital gaming, you know, playing on PC or you know, consoles, the way that they do it is they release the special edition stuff, and then later it becomes a $5, $10 option to buy. It's just they do that because they know they can get more money out of people. They get the money for the collector's guys, and the collector's guys look at it this way, and a lot of gamers kind of look at it like this. Well, I had it first. I didn't have to pay. I didn't pay extra, but you did because you bought the collectors, but you got more stuff than that. And you know, I didn't have to wait. Type of. That's how some people look at it. I look at it as kind of, all right, you're just doing it for more money. I get it. It's kind of low. It's kind of low to do it, but people do it. Like when I bought Gran Turismo 5 a few years ago, way after it came out, and what they did was, I forget what it was called, but basically it included all the downloadable content up to that point for like the price of the normal game, plus some other stuff that came out that was exclusive. So it was kind of like, ha ha ha. Yeah,
Batman did that with, I'm not sure, I know they did it with the Wii U version, but I'm pretty sure eventually they came out with a collector's edition that came out with every single DLC pack for the game, and it was the same price as the regular game.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, if I was the person who just shelled out all that money for that DLC, I'd be ticked.
Yeah, man, that's how they get you. And speaking of games, I just recently finished playing a game on Steam.
Oh?
Yeah, I went ahead and I got it on Steam instead of the console because my console's not set up to work right now. And I bought and I played Deadpool.
Oh? I hear that was okay.
Deadpool was great. Now, here's why. It's Deadpool. Okay, moving on. No, but the point is, if you know the character Deadpool, and not the over-the-topness that people, like, idolize him as, but just the character and how he's kind of zany, wacky, insane, cool, you'll like the game, because they did Deadpool right in this game. And since Marvel was a part of it, of course, hopefully they'll get it right. But the game, without giving anything away, the plot of the game is Deadpool wants a game made about him. Yep. So the whole point of the game is that you're basically making a game about Deadpool. And that's the best plot for Deadpool. For anything, really. Because it works out pretty well. Like, High Moon is one of the studios, and of course he breaks the fourth wall. He references High Moon. He calls up the producer of High Moon to get certain things going along. And what I liked about it is that it was done very comic booky, which is the way you got to do this type of game. Like, it wasn't trying to be super realistic. It had the classic comic book font for everything. You know that font that I'm talking about.
Yep.
And it had that classic font. And, like, for the interactions, when you press to do things, it's not just, here, interact with this item. Like, in the beginning of the game, you can interact with his apartment. And it was funny because he has a puppy, a dog. And he goes to the dog and it says, press U for doggy style. I'm like, oh no, what's going on? So I did, and he just pets the dog. But it's stuff like that. Then he opens up his refrigerator and it's full of beer, and it says, press B for peer pressure him into drinking, or spacebar to not to. So it's like you're peer pressuring him to drink, which is dumb. But it's that type of interaction that I like. But it's not just press U to interact. They went so far as to do that. They brought the voices in his head into the game, and it's just it was fun.
I heard that the characterization and the environment and the elements were great. It was the gameplay, and a part of the story part was a little where the game kind of fell lackluster in the mechanics and such.
The gameplay, the game. What's interesting is that it's kind of a game mocking games of its nature. Because, it's a third person, almost Devil May Cry style, in a way, but without the ranking stuff. And it's making fun of its genre of gaming. Because, in the very beginning, when you do stuff, it's like, Deadpool goes, oh, it's going to be one of these games, is it? And type of deal. Like, making fun of it a little bit. And so, throughout that, it just points to certain things, like, you have one of the voices going, we're doing it this way because to give it game progression so the player feels like it has a sense of accomplishment. It's blatantly pointing out things that the games of this genre are doing. So I like that because it wasn't trying to take itself seriously as like a game like this would. But the mechanics of it, I've only played it on PC, but what I can tell you is this is quite clearly a game transferred over to the PC. The controls on the PC were something that left to be desired. It's definitely a controller-based game. I'll tell you why. You evade with the B key on your keyboard. Now, the G key, which is right by it, throws your grenade. I can't tell how many times I tried to evade and I threw a grenade at my feet instead and blew up everybody, including me.
Apparently, in the game, in the console game, there's a similar issue where the evade button is also like the kick button or something. So when you try to evade, he'll end up attacking when you want him to evade, and then he'll evade when you want him to attack.
Well, I haven't played, so I can't say for sure. But when he evades, like basically, icon will appear above the enemy's head to evade, and that does a counterattack. So I don't know if they're confusing that with teleporting away when they wanted to instead of because if the guy has in the PC case it'd be over their head and he's in a certain range, not across the board but pretty close. I've done it where I wanted to teleport, but instead he counterattacks the guy with the B above his head because that's the way it's programmed. And it's not really a fault.
That might have been it. It might have been the counterattack and the teleport move.
Yeah, because it's teleporting and it's the counterattack. And the counterattack is fine because it doesn't just counterattack the guy you're attacking. If there's a mob of people near him, you hit everybody, which is pretty cool. And upgrading the weapons are pretty cool because eventually you can get these weapons to be really, awesome. And also the other thing is, B is right next to N, and N is one of the buttons to switch your weapons around. It switches the range weapon, if I believe. So I'm trying to evade, and it's just because it's definitely a port to the PC. You can tell for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not. I played Assassin's Creed on the PC, and I had some similar issues. It was not like, it's a terrible port. It's just porting. It doesn't have that many.
Porting is tough with PC games.
Yeah. But it has the option to put a controller in there if you want to on the PC. So you could,
that's nice. You
could kind of set it up for a controller. Some of the coolest things are the character bios that it does. I'm not going to say anything because we can't because it's a family-friendly show. But the character bios are hysterical. And it's just... What's cool is you could know nothing about Deadpool. In fact, I watched something about this game where the guy didn't know anything about Deadpool aside from that he's from Marvel. And in the beginning, it's like, stop breaking the fourth wall. And I wanted to be like, that's what he does. But after playing it I watched 2 episodes of the guy's gameplay. And in the second episode, he was loving the character and loving the game. It's just like, this is fun. The character's crazy. I like it. The healing factor is basically how you heal in the game, and he makes note of that, and it's like, wicked healing factor or something like that. But he's just Deadpool. He does Deadpool things, and the game does feel kind of repetitive at certain points because that's the type of game it is. It's just a third person shoot 'em, slash 'em up, and he kind of references that a little bit. And the ending's very appropriate, and that's all I'll say on the ending. I'm not going to say anything, but it just felt very Deadpool-like. One of my favorite quotes, this doesn't give anything away because if you look on the website, you see what characters guest star. One of them is Rogue. And Rogue flies in the game. And even apparently in the comics right now, Rogue does not have the ability to fly, or didn't for a while. So one of the voices in his head goes, for all the nerds getting all puffy over the fact that Rogue does not have the ability to fly in the comics right now. It's like, well, you can officially move out of your parents' basement, get a job in a life, and maybe, just maybe, you'll kiss a real girl. It's just like, yay! You're making fun of people who are getting really upset. And I just like that because it fits. I described this to the Stark Lord because I told him I just recently beat it when we were talking. And this is the game, be it a third-person point of view, that Duke Nukem Forever wanted to be. The type of fun... the type of, the slapstick of it and the fun of it. This is what Duke Nukem was trying to do, but failed horribly. And Deadpool did right, because he did it in a very comic book nature. But it was just fun.
That's cool.
It's fun. The controls on the PC are at least something we desired, because it's a port. And it's just, if you enjoy Deadpool or Marvel, you'll basically enjoy the game. I feel. Because it's one of those games that even if the only thing I don't like about it, because it is a PC port, of a game is you can't save whenever you want to, and sometimes the checkpoints are like stretched out a bit. Like I missed the checkpoint and then I died because I did something stupid because I was trying something stupid. And I got all the way back to like 10 minutes prior. I'm like, oh, come on.
That stinks.
Yeah. But it's just something good. I mean, Deadpool, I remember when it was first announced, and I forgot all about it, to be honest. And then I saw it on Steam, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I did it.
And with all the Steam sales going on right now.
Yeah. So I went and I did it, and it's honestly, I think it's a fun game to play with the controller. I've never done it with the controller, but you'll definitely, I think, have a lot easier time with the controller. The one thing I will say is that the mouse, and this is why, the mouse buttons, the left click is shooting, the right click is aiming and shooting. So you're attacking with the keyboard, which is very counterproductive. Because you WASD to move, but then E is to attack, and Q is to do Q is quick attack, E is heavy attack.
It's very much like what I'm having with this one game called Dust. Everything is keyboard, so it's a little tough to do some things right now.
Yeah. I mean, you could switch the keys around, I think. I didn't even try, so I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to try, I'm just going to go with it. Because I got semi-used to it. But yeah, if you have a mouse wheel that clicks, that is your quick attack, so you can do a quick attack with your mouse in a pinch. But, you also, and then the one mechanic in the game was momentum. It's kind of like charging up for a special attack with your weapon. And it's funny because he goes, hey player, we just got momentum, you should use this. And another thing is like, in the middle of a fight, he goes, my god, if you don't use the momentum, I swear I'm going to kill myself. And if you do bad, he basically goes, can you hand the control off to somebody who doesn't suck? So it has that kind of like...
It has those moments.
And it's fun. So that, I mean, I'm just repeating myself, but it's just one of those games that it has a challenge mode. I haven't tried it because I'm not a big fan of those modes in general. It's just, and the voice acting. Let me tell you, the voice acting is really good in this game. I feel. I don't believe the voice actors are from the show, but like Wolverine sounds like Wolverine, like from like something that wasn't the movie. Sounds like,
let's find out.
But what's cool is Cable is voiced by the guy who does Zeratul.
But Zeratul.
StarCraft.
Ah, yes, Zeratul.
So Cable is voiced by Zeratul's voice actor, so Cable is Zeratul, and it all makes sense.
Nice.
But
it all makes sense, he went back in time.
Right?
Let's see.
Like, Steve Blum did Wolverine.
Yeah, he does play Wolverine in a couple of TV shows.
So it was pretty cool to have, like...
That's interesting.
So I remember that voice, and it was just like... it just felt very... It's hard to describe in words, but you know when you play a game and it just feels like the voicing was done right?
Yeah.
All the voicing felt like it was done right. Like, there wasn't a character I went, oh, wait, that voice. Never. But it was... all the voicing was done pretty well.
That's cool.
So, that's always a bonus, in my opinion.
So, now, last week, we got to hear a little bit about everyone's view on Pacific Rim, but we didn't get to hear yours. What did you think of Pacific Rim?
Alright, well, let me preface this by saying, giant robots fighting giant monsters.
Yeah.
So, let me preface it by saying, brings back memories of Voltron, and brings back memories of Power Rangers fighting in their giant robot form, fighting giant monsters. It's awesome. I like the movie a lot. And here's the thing. It's a giant robot fighting giant monster movie. Expecting drama-level plot devices and drama-level development of characters and plot. You're expecting way too much out of an action movie. Now, I really enjoyed the movie. I like the fact that the whole, like, the mind meld, what did they call it? Drifting, the mental handshake thing was a very cool concept. I like why they did it. And I like the fact that it basically forces you to be emotionally neutral. You know, it forces you to be calm and cool and collected, or else it can really mess up. So I like that aspect. And I felt the support characters were done right as support characters. Like, didn't have too much plot development to try and steal the show. I like that it introduced things. It did the very basic action movie formula, which is introduce things in a certain predetermined style at a certain time in the movie to advance plot and develop the main characters and the main supporting character, which is what it did. I ultimately liked it. I would like to. One thing I would have liked is a bit more of why. Like, they kind of went into why it requires 2 pilots, but why couldn't they make one require just 1? Why couldn't they make something? You know, I would have liked a bit more of the tech aspect of the Jaegers. But I liked it. I liked the fact that it was basically humanoid-shaped things, but it wasn't blatantly like need a head like the Russian one. It was a walking reactor silo. I mean, that's all.
Yeah.
And look, I really enjoyed it. I felt they did a great job with the monsters. It wasn't like this is Godzilla. It wasn't like this is Alien-esque or Zerg or anything like that. It was very much
or Gamera.
Yeah, it was very much, hey, these are giant creatures type of thing. And it didn't feel like a rip-off of any type of particular giant monster film to me in terms of their look. I like the fact that as they progressed, especially, you got more and more of the deep-sea nature on them. Like, looking more like sea creatures. Like, that one thing that had, like, that tongue.
Yeah.
Everything. It just looked very lamprey and very much like a deep-sea fish thing would have. So, I thought that was pretty cool. The one thing, and that I complain about is why they should have developed the Jaegers for better maneuverability underwater. That's where the threat's coming from. And you go into meet in battle in the middle of the ocean. Sometimes they're like really offshore. Have better water maneuverability.
Yeah.
Don't walk when they can swim. That's a terrible idea.
Speaking of stuff, got some things that a neat announcement thingy that you might get a kick out of. But before, just speaking of Pacific Rim, guess who's going to Otakon this year?
Who?
Tomokazu Saki. You might know him as Domon Kashu from G Gundam.
Someone's got to ask him, why didn't he put any effort into it?
He did. There were times, just not when he was screaming out the signature moves. And he was also Toji in Evangelion.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And this is the Japanese voice actor, not the American voice actor.
Yeah, I have to say, American Domon
was so good. He, like, when he screamed out "burning finger," you were like, "Oh yeah, man!"
You can feel it. He's actually doing it.
He is one of the English actor did something that, at that point, I was like, okay, man, you're in my top 5 in respect in voice acting. Is when he was being interviewed, I think it was by Shonen Jump American version. And G Gundam just came out, and like the first 3 episodes just aired, and he's like, okay guys, I gotta level with you, we suck in the first 5 episodes. I am sorry for that, but please give us till we get to episode 6, then we get into the characters, and it's 10 times better, I promise you. And so I was like, okay, I can respect a man who can openly admit that he had a bad run in the first few episodes.
Right. And he just did so well. One of the things I really liked in G Gundam has nothing to do with the story or stuff. All the Gundams are really cool, number one. And one of the things I really liked was when he was fighting the Turkish Gundam, and he has his beam saber, and the Turkish Gundam cuts the beam saber in half, and the top half goes flying out, and he just goes, "How did he do that?"
Yeah,
it's perfect.
That was funny the way that they did that, because they're like, what?
Yeah, it just made no sense. And
another great moment with that was when he uses burning finger with his left hand, because everyone's so used to him using just his right hand.
Yeah, that's also good. But they did a good job with that. I really liked, what was it, German Gundam was Shadow Gundam or something like that?
Shadow Gundam.
He just, like, that Gundam, as far as, because each one had was slightly based on cultural stereotypes of the country in terms of look.
Schwarzbrüder.
Yeah, and his name didn't help much either. But as far as the look, and I have to say, all of the Gundams look good, but they really did a good job with the color palette, the way they did the coloring on Shadow Gundam, and just the overall design. He looked... One of my favorite Gundam designs by far is Shadow Gundam.
Yeah.
I mean, he just looks
cool
good.
One.
And I don't know, I thought that was just a good whatchamacallit. It was just a good Gundam show. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, it was awesome, and it was different, which made it even that much better.
Yeah. At the time that it came out, or at the time that it was made, Gundam Wing wasn't made yet, or wasn't out yet. So you got one of the first looks at Wing Gundam was in G Gundam.
Yep, because G Gundam was created by the original creator.
Yeah. So it was just a cool little thing that I enjoyed. Now, speaking of like shows and movies and whatnot, this is going to be a bit of a difficult question, but and for the fearless gamers, feel free to chime in right now. Obviously, you know, don't wait for it to be uploaded. Chime in right now. But overall movie main theme, what's your favorite?
Overall movie main theme,
like song wise, like for example, Star Wars has the Star Wars intro. Plus, you could also throw in like the Imperial March in there. Like the main more iconic things from a movie, like the Jurassic Park theme or the like
the Jaws.
Yeah, which one is your overall favorite?
Ooh, that is a tough one.
It is.
That is hard.
It's tough because there's a lot of good themes out there.
Yeah. No, I can't think of... I'd have to give you my answer like next week if I could think of one.
Yeah. Because
I have no clue.
I have the luxury of thinking about this for a while, so I came to a decision, so I'll share it.
Okay.
I have everything that I like in movies and whatnot, and their theme songs. My overall favorite would have to be the Terminator 2 theme song. It's like the opening credits music is basically, so if you've seen the movie, first off, dun, 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 dun. It's iconic. Nobody's really copied it or came close to like duplicating it. Or I don't want to say it's never tried, but I have never found one that took that and made it better. You know what I mean? Because the grand operatic theme of like movies, there's so many to choose from. And I'm not saying they're the same, but a certain formula. I just like the way that Terminator 2 did it. And plus, when you watch the opening credits for that, the imagery goes along with it so well with the burning inferno of like the kids' playground and everything.
Oh yeah.
And then when it goes into the chun 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 at the end, it just slowly zooms in at the T-800 head surrounding. It was just a perfect intro cinematic with the intro music. Like that theme music is just, whenever anybody hears it, it's like, oh, Skynet.
Fun fact for everyone there: if you ever, whenever you're in an area with the Stark Lord, if you just go dun 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 dun, he'll find a hard surface to do the drum beat with you.
You got to. It's almost a rule at this point. Like you got to chime in with it, or at least air drum it. And whenever you hear it, if you've seen the movies, and especially if you're a fan of movies, obviously, but whenever you hear it, you go, oh no. Skynet's on the move. Like it automatically conjures up like Skynet. Skynet, I have to say, going along with that, a very well done villain.
Yeah,
Skynet.
Until near the end, it kind of got a little crappy.
But like just the concept of what Skynet represents.
Yeah,
a very well done villain. Now I know everybody hates Terminator 3, but the one thing Terminator 3 did right is the paradox of Terminator. The paradox of the Terminator universe is that Skynet has to happen, Judgment Day has to happen for all the events to unfold, and that it's inevitable. It's inevitable.
One of the things I hated with that was that they spent 2 movies telling us the future is not inevitable. It can be rewritten, it can be redone, and it's then in the third one they're like, oh no, we lied. You're screwed no matter what you do.
They said there is no fate but what we make. That was the big thing between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Like the future is not set in stone, and it's not. The thing about the future and humanity that is part of the Terminator mythos and that Terminator 3 touched on very briefly at the end. And the rest of the movie was just action that was fun to watch, but it was just like, is that human progression will inevitably lead to Skynet. And Skynet, whether it's made by Dyson, whether it's made by somebody else, whether it's called something else, something like that will pop up. Because humanity is just naturally progressing towards that. And it's kind of almost an eerie thought, too, because you look at real technology and real advancements, and we're advancing towards that. I mean, it's the idea...
In a way, yeah.
The idea is that you can't, short of taking away the knowledge from us and wiping our minds from knowing that this is possible to do something, let's say cars. If all the cars in the world magically vanished and we just forgot all about them, that might take a bit longer. But if you took away all that stuff, somebody's going to try and basically reproduce that. It just got to happen. It may take longer. If somebody invented something, and if they died before they invented it, chances are somebody else is going to invent it. And
that is true.
So, Terminator. What I liked about Terminator and Terminator 2 is that there is no fate but what we make. You have to determine your own destiny type of deal. Somebody says you're going to die tomorrow from something, you have the ability to stop that. And with Terminator 3, there's no fate but what you make, but certain things are just too overarchingly, I don't want to say set in stone, but inevitable. But what you can basically do is best prepare yourself for it. And Salvation I really enjoyed, just because...
Salvation was fun.
I really enjoyed Salvation, just because we got to see a glimpse of that world. And I've always been intrigued by the future after Judgment Day.
I am a little upset that they didn't continue on with that.
Yeah, same here.
Because granted, I heard, not sure how true it is I heard that the whole scandal with Arnold caused that because he was gonna be in the next one, and he wanted to get his whole life straightened out before he went into the film. And I'm like, well, clearly you're over it now, so make the next one.
Yeah, right. But I also really enjoyed the Sarah Connor Chronicles, the show.
I haven't seen that.
It was an interesting take on it. The problem with Terminator is that whenever you do something like a Sarah Connor Chronicles in it, it's basically you get the sense that there's T-800s and resistance fighters everywhere in the world in that show, and it kind of takes away kind of the charm of one-on-one type of deal.
Yeah.
But
because doesn't John Connor have a Terminator babysitter in that show?
Oh yeah, basically it's Summer Glau plays a T-800 that was sent back, but basically she plays Arnold's character to protect them.
Yeah.
And then there's all the ones that are sent back, and stuff happens, and there's resistance fighters that are sent back, including Reese's brother, Kyle.
Okay.
It was just done. I just liked what it did, because it did a lot of it was basically set in the modern age, and then it had some flashbacks and some cuts to the future of Thingamabob, and it was just cool to see how it worked, and it was cool because it developed the whole idea of reprogramming T-800s, because it showed more and more about that, and it really kind of gave a cool insight into the war. And I don't know how canon it is in the whole Terminator canon, but who knows, because of the whole thing with him and his wife or whatever. But it was just fun. And the thing about the Terminator series, or the Terminator, fluff, if you will, the universe of Terminator, is that it's very interesting. And it's interesting. It's kind of foreshadowing, and it gives you the whole idea of, what is technology going to be for us, and how are we going to basically design our own apocalypse? I don't know. I think it did it well. I don't think it's by any means the first to ever do that, but it just did it well. And Terminator 1 was alright, but Terminator 2 I think is the best of the series.
Oh yeah, definitely. Terminator 2 was phenomenal.
Terminator 2, you don't even have to watch Terminator 1 to watch Terminator 2.
No, they explained good chunk of what happened in Terminator 1 to you in that one.
Yeah, you don't have to watch Terminator 1 at all. I mean, it's still pretty decent, so I recommend watching it. But Terminator 2 is just, if you had to pick one Terminator movie to watch, just watch Terminator 2 and you'll be happy.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of movies, if you notice, I left a link in the description.
Yes.
that is apparently the in-progress model for Godzilla in the new U.S. film.
It's a bit bloated, but
it's so classic. It's got a look of the 90s Godzilla with a small hint of the 70s Godzilla with the long arms in him.
Now,
but he looks so much better than Zilla did.
Yeah, well, Zilla,
for those who don't know, Zilla is what the Matthew Broderick Godzilla is referred to in Japan because he's a bootleg version.
Well, Zilla, or just because it's easier, for the purpose of this, saying Godzilla is like, which version are you talking about? So the American Godzilla or Zilla, what they did with it in terms of how the liberties they took, I didn't mind necessarily, but they didn't go with it very well. Like, the look of him, I honestly, or her, it, whatever it was in that movie, the look of it, I didn't mind, in all honesty. The sizing was a bit...
The sizing kept changing.
Yeah, it wasn't even that it was changed. Like, the overall height of it stayed the same, basically, but the dimensions of his limbs constantly changed, which was...
Yeah.
But the overall look, I think, was fine. The thing about it is that at one point they're firing missiles and machine guns at it, and it's petering off harmlessly. And then towards the end, they're firing the same weapons, and it becomes horribly effective. It's like, what?
Yeah. Apparently the theory behind it is that the one that died there were two of them. One that died in the Hudson, and then the one that you saw in Madison Square Garden.
Wasn't the one in the Madison Square Garden a baby?
No, the big giant one?
Okay.
Well, no, what it was is there were the babies there, but they supposedly they kill him in the river.
How?
When he's trying to dig into the tunnels, they shoot a bunch of torpedoes at him, and you see his body just float away. Now, I think the movie was trying to establish that he was just knocked out.
Yeah.
But that some people were figuring that it must have been a second one if they say that they killed it in the first film and didn't establish that was because they don't in any way establish that it's the same one. So there's a theory that there was two of them. But what was also silly is if you notice, when they tried to shoot missiles at him before, when he was running through the buildings, missiles couldn't lock on him. But once he got stuck on the Brooklyn Bridge, which, just for reference, was not the closest suspension bridge to them, they had to pass by two to get to the Brooklyn Bridge, they were able to lock onto him and shoot him with missiles.
Yeah, but it's iconic. That's why I love
the
Brooklyn Bridge. Now, the only thing I can give, maybe with the lock-on systems or whatever, was when he got kind of, entangled on the bridge, is that due to the ferrous material surrounding him, it was a bit, they could get a lock. I'll give him that. That's not even necessarily how it works for locking on with missiles, but I'll give him that.
Just to make sure the movie's over.
Yeah, but it's just, I've always thought that when it floated down the Hudson or whatever, that it was just like, oh, you stunned me. Oh.
Yeah, I thought that at one point, but, the movie kind of just really... The movie pretty much practically just went, we killed it!
Yeah.
And it's usually in those films, then, why didn't we see a scene to indicate that they didn't kill it? Because then when he appears out of nowhere, wait a minute, are you the same one? Are you a new one? Either way, it's kind of silly.
It's a bit silly. I would never, when I saw that, and thinking back at the scene now, I still think it was just stunned. I mean, part of it, just coming out of nowhere, is the oh no factor. What are we gonna? How can we stop this thing? It's in MSG. It's not good. Yeah. I don't you don't need to have the eye open or whatever. You don't have to see it move or whatever. Part of the problem with that, I think, is the fact that the move, at that point, if I remember, it's still a nighttime thing.
Yep.
And the problem is the nighttime in that thing was so dark that it was hard to follow what was going on anyway. So
I loved how apparently Godzilla has the ability to squish himself like an accordion because the Hudson isn't that deep.
Yeah, but
Like, if they were doing realistic physics with the Hudson, his head would have hit the ground, and then the rest of his body would have just been sticking out of the river.
Yeah, but with movies like that, they hardly ever do realistic proportions
But
for anything. It's just...
that's one of the few films where people make a complaint
Yeah.
about how deep the Hudson is in that movie.
Which is funny. But overall, like, the look of Godzilla, it looked impressive. I like the look of it.
It wasn't bad. I think I was more upset that he was a giant iguana and not a giant dinosaur.
Yeah, I think they were trying to go with a bit more believable giant monster, which makes no sense.
Okay, yes. They're trying to go in a giant monster movie about a giant lizard that rips apart towns and is immune to bullets. Realistic.
Yeah, well, you know, you gotta try and ground it in reality a little bit.
Well, you ground it in reality with the technology used. Like, if you don't want to be, like, over-the-top Japan, then you don't throw in the maser. You know, there, set in reality, it's just tanks and helicopters.
Yes, but we had to do something, I guess, for our version. I don't know. All I know is that it was whatever.
I guess they could officially get the rights to Godzilla.
Right. But speaking of weird, wacky things like that, I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie is still greenlit to go.
I think it is happening. It's just that when they realized Matthew Broderick's idea of Teenage Mutant Ninja aliens that kind of look like turtles wasn't a good idea, they said, okay, you're gone. Let's find someone who actually watched the TV show this time.
I don't know his original thing, but the current synopsis that I was able to find for this movie is the fact that aliens invade Earth, and because of that, through maybe some alien magic or tech or something happens to spawn 4 Ninja Turtles, basically.
Originally, the original concept that why do I say that? Because we were just talking about, Michael Bay. Sorry. I probably said Matthew Broderick the last time.
Yeah.
But Michael Bay wanted it to just be 4 aliens that looked like turtles that land on Earth.
Okay.
Because he felt that the turtles getting mutated was silly.
I mean, both are silly, but
but I think now, with the way your plot synopsis sounds, it sounds like aliens invade, and through radiation poisoning junk, 4 turtles get turned into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, because the thing I can find says that the aliens invade Earth and that inadvertently spawns the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it's probably like, you know...
Which is fine.
Yeah, which is fine. Which is cool. But,
as long as they're not aliens that look like turtles. Like, that was stupid.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that was...
And that's coming from someone talking about a show about teenager turtles that know ninja stuff.
Listen, the reason it was stupid is because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a pre-established franchise. If he was making something completely up on his own where 4 aliens come who kind of look reptilian
like turtles
or whatever, fine. But you're taking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You gotta keep that theme going.
And Michael Bay had the nerve to say, just give it a chance.
Oh, that's not a bad thing. The problem is, it's like, really, I'd give it a chance if it wasn't a pre-established franchise.
Yeah. It's like, really, this isn't like throwing jalapenos in hot dog mix, you know? That's something you can give a chance. You know, because that's food. Food is meant to be experimented on to try and make something more tasty.
Yeah, this is a pre-established franchise.
This is a pre-established story arc that you're trying to say is what we grew up with. And Alien Turtles is not what we grew up with.
No, I mean, and it's funny because that caused an uproar. It's just funny when you think about the concept. Like, that caused a problem. And not the fact that we're trying to make Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles again. The fact that we
wanted to change them from turtles
to aliens is the big problem. And
that's it. That's the deal buster right there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, clearly. I get it, but it's just funny to think about it. Like, that's the issue. We were okay with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles running around saving the day, but you want to turn them into aliens?
No.
You get out of my office. It's just like, really? All right.
I guess you could say it's a testament to just what is still sacred to most to our generation.
Yeah, I guess. It's just funny. I don't know.
Like, that is like something sacred. You do not tamper with that formula, no matter what.
No, you definitely don't.
Or if you do, you don't tell anybody about it beforehand.
You just let it happen. You just deal with the consequences.
Yes. You do like the Disney way. You advertise it up like, this is the thing you're going to see, this is the thing you're on the scene. But in the background, you're going, we're going to lose so much money from this. Like with the John Carter thing. They built it up like, this is going to be epic, this is going to be awesome, you're going to forget about the crappy original, and in the background, Disney's going, this is going to lose us so much money. That's what you do. You trick us into thinking it's what we want, and then in the background go, they're going to be pissed when they find out what it really is.
Yeah. Huh, this is interesting.
What?
I'm looking up...
Like with... A good thing is, like with Godzilla, they made it think like it was the Japanese one until the movie happened.
Yeah.
And you found out it was an iguana.
There you go. And that was smart.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how you do it because it gets people in the seats.
Yes. I'm looking at stuff for Transformers.
The new one?
I don't want to say 4, because it is billed as Transformers 4, but anyways, yeah, looking at the new one. And there's a retro Camaro, and then it's like this future a weird looking Camaro with a weird front end that looks lame in comparison to a real Camaro. So I'm like, which one's going to be Bumblebee? If they're keeping Bumblebee as a Camaro, which I'm pretty sure they are, this retro one from like a 1967 one, and a highly modified new one. It's on the IMDb's site. It's funny. They have photos of the movie and it's of the characters, and none of them is a person. They're all vehicles.
Because they don't have images yet, probably.
No, but they have characters, but it's just like they don't, and it's Mark Wahlberg's in it, so it should be good. Flint Vincent sounds like a familiar guy from the Transformers universe.
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg was who was he? He was
Transformers sequel. Oh, it is called Transformers 4.
Yeah,
but they killed everybody.
Yeah, it's weird. But
how could they? But they killed everybody.
Yeah. Flynn Vincent though, that kind of sounds familiar in the Transformers world.
Oh, I hope that flat-ended tractor 18-wheeler is Prime.
No, it's not gonna be. Prime's the one with the red and blue.
Oh! You know what that might be?
That might be one of those.
That might be Minosaur. No, not Minosaur. Motormaster.
Yeah, one of the crew.
Yeah, the Motormaster. He would. If the Stunticons were in it and it was them, right? That would be awesome.
I think it might be.
Actually, that retro one, the fancy one with the funky hood, that might be a Stunticon.
Maybe. It would be weird to have two Camaros.
Well, that would be awesome. If they unfortunately, if Shia LaBeouf is in it or anything. Oh no. Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. And whoever he is, if they did something where they just confuse him for an Autobot, that would be cool, because I think that was the whole shtick with the original Transformers, was the Stunticons were vehicles, so everyone's like, oh, they're Autobots.
Yeah, it might be. It'll be interesting
Harold
to do with that.
Egan? Who is he? But that's a waste of Kelsey Grammer if he's not like the preppy, if he's not that blue streak. Who's the character you're thinking of?
Which one?
Which character? You were like, Flynn Vincent?
Yeah, the main Mark Wahlberg is Flynn Vincent. Is that somebody from the Transformers? Or it might be Flynn or Vincent. I don't know. It just sounds kind of familiar.
I don't think so. It doesn't sound familiar. The only characters I'm thinking of is Spike, Daniel.
Yeah.
Who else would he be? Let me see. Let's wiki him and find out what it says.
Yeah. Oh.
Let's see.
Well, I think the Stunticons will be in it.
Transformers. What?
I think the Stunticons will be here because you got the that semi-truck that looks like the Stunticon semi-truck.
Yep. Motormaster.
Yeah, if your theory is correct on the yellow futuristic Camaro-looking thing, then it might be one of them. Plus, just by going by the way vehicles look, they always kind of give the sleek stuff to the evil guys. You got the Pagani and you got the Lamborghini, which could be the other two vehicles of the Stunticons. And maybe the Sonic, just because the Sonic is kind of done rally-esque fashion here, maybe that can be. For how many Stunticons were there? 4 or 5?
In all the films?
No, it's the Stunticons.
Oh, there is a total of there's usually 5 in a combiner set: 2 legs, 2 arms, and a body. It was, they're one of the few. They're the ones I can't remember their names.
Yeah. Well, they have 2 shots of the same Camaro. So if I'm judging it by this, Optimus Prime's on the in the pictures here. There's 12 pictures. 2 are the same Camaro. 1's of the logo. So you have the bottom 5 has Bumblebee in it and has Optimus Prime in it. So I'm guessing the bottom 5 pictures are Autobots. If the top 5 are all Decepticons, those are probably Stunticons.
Yes, it was Motormaster, which is most likely that silver truck, Dragstreep, Dead End, Wild Rider, and Breakdown.
So is that 4 or 5?
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Yep, 5 of them.
Yeah, so I'm guessing just by doing that because you got Bumblebee and Optimus Prime on the bottom, and then the Bugatti Grand Sport with the blue accents. I'm hoping is Blur because it's a fast car. You got a green C7 Corvette, could be somebody from Transformers. And you got an army truck, which could be somebody from the Autobots as well.
Yeah, because they did have a few military vehicles.
Yeah, just none of them were planes.
Yeah, or tanks.
Yeah.
Well, no, they had tank Warpath.
Yeah. But, if they're doing that, then that'd be kind of cool to see. And of course, most of these are GM products. Because somebody's paying somebody a lot of money.
And Peter Cullen is back.
Oh, he has to be. Until Peter Cullen officially retires from voice acting or becomes deceased, which will be a sad day, he will be Optimus Prime.
Well, apparently he is, apparently the movie series was the first time he's decided to come back as Optimus. Prior to that, he was like, all the other shows, he's like, I'm not playing the part. Because until he said that he felt that the Michael Bay movie was the one that did the most faith to the original series.
Which it did, and he made a good choice in not being the other Optimus Primes because those shows were bad.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of any of them.
No, but it's just...
it looks like they're really... it looks like they are just deciding to say, screw the Wiki crew.
Yeah. But, yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. It's just funny because there's more of car pictures. And I like the fact that just the photos from the untitled Transformers movie is just a whole bunch of cars.
That black one with the sunset on it may be Breakdown.
Which black one? Oh, the Lamborghini?
Yeah, that may be Breakdown.
Okay.
Because he kind of has a similar shape to the original drawing.
Gotcha.
But it is time to get going, sadly.
Yes, it is.
So that is all for right now. Thank you all for joining us.
Yes.
And again, ask us what is your favorite movie score that you love of all time, and let us know in the comments.
Indeed. Let us know, and if you have questions, ask us.
Yes. So thank you all for watching. Listening. Thank you all. Thank you all for listening. Blah. How many times will I say that? Until next time, fearless gamers. This is Matt the Vet.
James the Wildcard.
Saying take care.
Peace.